Welcome back, American Coin Hunter. The 1981 D1 cent coin from the United States is one of those coins that almost everyone has seen, touched, or spent without ever realizing that in certain conditions and rare situations, it can be connected to extraordinary stories, massive collector demand, and headline-grabbing values that shock even experienced numismatists. Because this single small copper-colored coin represents a turning point in American coin history. U.S. minting technology, metal, composition changes, and the growing obsession of collectors searching for hidden treasures in everyday pocket change. And when people hear claims of values reaching as high as $262 million, it immediately sparks curiosity, disbelief, excitement, and a deep desire to understand how a simple penny could ever be associated with such a staggering number. And to understand that story, we must look closely at every detail of the 1981 D Lincoln cent, from its weight to its metal, from its design to its mint mark, from its historical background to the rare errors and market psychology that drive extreme valuations in the modern coin world. The 1981 D1 cent coin was struck at the Denver Mint, which is indicated by the small but powerful letter D located on the obverse side of the coin just below the date. And this tiny letter is known as the mint symbol or mint mark, a critical identifier that instantly tells collectors where the coin was produced. And in the case of the 1981 D penny, millions were made, but not all were made equally, not all survived equally, and not all carry the same value or potential, because coin value is never just about how many were minted. It is about condition, rarity, composition, timing, errors, collector demand, and sometimes pure mystery in terms of weight. The 1981 D1 cent coin is especially important because it exists in a transitional era for U.S. pennies, and most 1981 cents were struck in a copper-based alloy consisting of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin, giving the coin a standard weight of approximately 3.11 grams. And this weight is crucial because just 1 year later, in 1982, the U.S. Mint officially shifted to a primarily zinc composition with a thin copper plating, reducing the weight to about 2.5 grams, which means the 1981 D penny represents one of the final years of the classic heavy copper Lincoln cents that collectors love, hoard, and search for relentlessly. The design of the 1981 D1 cent coin follows the iconic Lincoln Memorial reverse that was introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and this design remained in use until 2008, making it one of the longest-running reverse designs in U.S. history. And on the obverse side, we see the right-facing portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, with the word liberty to the left, the motto "I in God we trust" above, and the date 1981 below, while the reverse features the Lincoln Memorial with the words United States of America across the top, the denomination 1 cent at the bottom, and the motto E pluribus unum above the memorial. And although millions of Americans see this design as ordinary, collectors see it as a canvas where minting errors, die varieties, and subtle differences can transform a 1 cent coin into something far more valuable. The history of the 1981 D penny is deeply connected to rising copper prices, economic pressures, and the U.S. government struggled to keep coin production cost-effective because by the late 1970s and early 1980s, the price of copper had increased so much that the intrinsic metal value of a penny was approaching, and sometimes exceeding, its face value. And this forced the U.S. Mint to experiment with alternative metals, compositions, and production methods. And while 1981 cents were still officially copper-based, this period saw increased testing, tighter quality controls in some areas, and unexpected errors in others, which today form the backbone of high-value collector discoveries. When people talk about the possibility of the 1981 D1 cent being worth enormous sums like $262 million, it is not because a normal circulated penny is suddenly worth that amount, but because of the idea that a single unique specimen, possibly a one-of-a-kind error, experimental strike, wrong planchet, or undocumented transitional piece, could theoretically command an astronomical price if it were authenticated, graded, and desired by elite collectors, museums, or private investors. And history has shown that unique coins can sell for tens of millions of dollars when the right story, rarity, and demand collide. Collectors actively search 1981D pennies for specific error types such as off-center strikes, double strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, cut errors, and most famously double die varieties where the date, lettering, or Lincoln's profile appears double due to misalignment during the hubbing process. And while many double dies are minor and worth modest premiums, strong, dramatic double dies can sell for thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars, especially in high mint state condition. Another area of intense interest is weight anomalies. Because a 1981D penny that does not match the standard 3.11 gram copper weight immediately raises red flags and excitement, as it could indicate a wrong planchet error, such as a coin struck on a foreign blank, an experimental alloy, or even a transitional composition intended for later years, and such coins, if authenticated by major grading services, can become legendary within the coin collecting community. Condition plays a massive role in value, and while most 1981D pennies found in circulation today are heavily worn and worth only face value, examples graded MS67, MS68, or higher by professional grading services are extremely rare and highly desirable, and these top population coins can sell for hundreds or thousands of dollars, proving that even modern-era pennies can achieve significant value when preserved in near-perfect condition. The market value of the 1981D penny fluctuates based on collector trends, auction results, and newly discovered varieties. And while everyday examples trade for 1 cent, certified high-grade specimens, rare errors, and dramatic varieties can bring strong prices, and the theoretical $262 million valuation exists in the realm of speculation, tied to a hypothetical unique specimen that combines unprecedented rarity, historical importance, and global collector attention, something that would rewrite numismatic history if it ever appeared. What makes the story of the 1981D 1-cent coin so powerful is that it reminds people that valuable treasures do not always come in gold bars or ancient relics, but sometimes hide in plain sight in old jars, inherited collections, or loose change passed from hand to hand. And this is why millions of people continue to check pennies, weigh them, inspect them under magnification, and dream that one day they might uncover a coin that changes their life forever. And as the years pass, the 1981D penny continues to age. Fewer pristine examples survive. Copper continues to rise in historical importance, and collector fascination with pre-1982 copper cents only grows stronger, ensuring that this humble coin remains a permanent topic of discussion, speculation, and excitement in the world of American coin collecting. As collectors dig deeper into the 1981D 1-cent coin, the discussion naturally expands beyond simple face value and into the psychology of rarity, because rarity in numismatics is not always about how many coins were minted, but how many still exist in collectible condition, how many have unique characteristics, and how many can trigger emotional competition among serious buyers. And the 1981D penny sits at a fascinating crossroads where huge mintages meet microscopic survival rates in top condition, creating an environment where even small differences can mean massive jumps in value. One of the most overlooked aspects of the 1981D penny is strike quality, because during the early 1980s the Denver Mint was producing coins at extremely high speed, often sacrificing sharp detail for efficiency, which means that truly well-struck examples with full design detail, crisp lettering, and strong separation in Lincoln's hair and beard are far rarer than people realize, and collectors who understand this will pay strong premiums for coins that show exceptional craftsmanship compared to the average soft, weakly struck cent from the same year. The metal composition of the 1981D penny also plays a powerful role in its long-term desirability, because it represents one of the final moments when U.S. pennies were genuinely made of copper rather than zinc cores with thin copper plating. And as time passes, these older copper cents are increasingly viewed not just as coins, but as historical metal artifacts from an era when the United States still used substantial amounts of precious industrial metals in everyday currency. And this emotional and historical attachment drives hoarding behavior, reducing supply and quietly increasing demand. Another important factor is die variety research, because many varieties from the early 1980s remain understudied compared to earlier decades. And new doubled dies, repunched mint marks, and minor hub variations continue to be discovered by collectors using modern digital microscopes, high-resolution photography, and online collaboration, meaning that the full story of the 1981 D penny has not yet been written, and future discoveries could dramatically alter market values overnight. The Denver mint mark itself is an object of fascination because mint marks are more than just letters. They are symbols of production practices, regional mint cultures, and quality control differences, and in some years the Denver Mint produced sharper coins than Philadelphia, while in other years the opposite was true, and for 1981, Denver's output shows wide variability, making standout examples extremely valuable to specialists who build registry sets and compete for the highest-graded coins in the world. Collectors also pay close attention to planchet quality in 1981 D cents, because impurities, laminations, and surface defects were more common during periods of high production stress, and coins exhibiting dramatic lamination errors where layers of metal peel away or retained clips where part of the blank was improperly cut are highly sought after and can command prices far beyond what most people expect from a penny, sometimes reaching thousands of dollars depending on eye appeal and severity. The idea of a penny being linked to a market value of $262 million sounds unbelievable to most people. Yet history provides examples of coins whose prices exploded due to unique circumstances, such as the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1913 Liberty Nickel. And these cases show that when a coin becomes singular in status, surrounded by mystery, legality, scarcity, and elite ownership, its value transcends metal and denomination and becomes a cultural artifact. And this is the framework in which extreme valuations for unique modern errors are sometimes discussed in speculative scenarios. Experts imagine a 1981 D penny struck on a never-authorized planchet, perhaps composed of an experimental alloy, intended for later years, or a foreign metal never meant for U.S. coinage, combined with perfect preservation and ironclad documentation. And if such a coin were confirmed and offered at public auction, it could ignite unprecedented bidding wars among billionaires, institutions, and national collections, pushing its value into territory that seems impossible today but has precedent in numismatic history. Market demand for Lincoln cents remains exceptionally strong because Lincoln is one of the most recognizable figures in American history, and his portrait on the penny has become a symbol of continuity, stability, and national identity. And this emotional resonance ensures that Lincoln cents, even modern ones, enjoy a broader collector base than many other denominations, which directly impacts liquidity and long-term value stability. The survival rate of high-grade 1981 D pennies is shockingly low when adjusted for handling, because pennies are rarely saved carefully at the time of issue. They are often tossed into circulation, dropped on hard surfaces, stored in jars where they rub against each other, and exposed to moisture and chemicals that degrade copper surfaces, meaning that truly pristine examples become rarer with each passing year, silently increasing their desirability. Professional grading services play a crucial role in shaping the value narrative of the 1981 D penny, because certification provides trust, standardization, and global recognition, and when a coin is encapsulated with a high mint state grade, it instantly becomes eligible for registry competition, auction exposure, and investor interest, transforming it from pocket change into a recognized collectible asset. Another fascinating angle is the role of online communities and social media, where videos, forum posts, and viral clips claiming massive penny values generate waves of interest, search activity, and renewed coin checking. And while many claims are exaggerated or misunderstood, they serve an important function by bringing new collectors into the hobby, some of whom eventually make genuine discoveries that advance numismatic knowledge. Economic uncertainty also fuels interest in coins like the 1981 D penny, because tangible assets, even small ones, are often seen as stores of value during inflationary periods, and copper-based coins carry an added layer of intrinsic appeal, even if melting is illegal, because people instinctively understand that metal has worth beyond paper promises. As more collectors realize that 1981 represents the final full year before the composition change, demand for all 1981 cents increases, and within that group, Denver mint examples with exceptional quality or unusual characteristics rise fastest, creating a tiered market where common coins remain common, but exceptional coins quietly climb in value year after year. The story of the 1981 D1 cent coin is ultimately a story of patience, observation, and knowledge, because the difference between a worthless penny and a valuable collectible often comes down to details invisible to the untrained eye. And those who take the time to learn weights, strike characteristics, die markers, and surface diagnostics position themselves to recognize opportunity when it appears. And as collectors continue searching rolls, estates, and old collections, the possibility always exists that a previously unknown variety or error could surface, rewriting price guides, sparking auction headlines, and adding another chapter to the evolving legend of the 1981 D penny, a coin that proves again and again that in numismatics, size and face value mean nothing compared to rarity, story, and demand. As the fascination with the 1981 D1 cent coin deepens, collectors begin to examine not only what is known, but what might still be hidden, because history has proven again and again that some of the most valuable coins in the world were not recognized as special at the time they were struck, and instead spent years or even decades circulating quietly before someone noticed a subtle difference that changed everything. And this idea fuels the relentless search through penny rolls, bank boxes, and inherited jars for overlooked 1981 D cents that may hold secrets yet to be discovered. One critical detail collectors focus on is die wear and die state progression, because the condition of the die at the moment a coin was struck can dramatically affect appearance. And in some cases, late-stage dies produce coins with heavy cracks, cuds, and unusual metal flow that create visually dramatic errors. And when such features appear on a coin from a popular series like the Lincoln cent, they can become highly collectible and command prices far beyond what most people expect from a modern penny. The copper surface of a 1981 D penny also tells a story, because copper reacts with the environment over time, developing tones that range from bright red to deep brown, and coins that retain original red color are far rarer than those that have darkened. And in the grading world, color designations such as red, red-brown, and brown can mean the difference between a modest value and a premium price, especially in high mint state grades. Collectors also study microscopic details such as the spacing of letters, thickness of numerals and the date, and shape of the mint mark, because small variations can indicate different dies or hubbing processes. And while many of these differences are minor, some become recognized varieties that attract specialist interest, increasing demand and driving prices upward within niche collecting circles. The Denver Mint in 1981 was operating under intense production pressure, and this environment sometimes leads to mistakes that slip through quality control, such as misaligned dies, uneven strikes, or improper annealing of planchets, and each of these errors creates a unique fingerprint on the resulting coin, transforming it from a mass-produced object into a singular artifact. The concept of worth in the coin market is deeply emotional, because collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying stories, possibilities, and the thrill of ownership. And when a coin like the 1981 D penny becomes associated with speculation about massive values, even if only theoretically, it captures imagination and drives attention, which in turn fuels demand for the best examples available. Another dimension of the 1981 D penny story is its role in educational collecting, because it serves as a gateway coin for beginners learning about mint marks, composition changes, grading standards, and error identification, and many advanced collectors trace their passion back to the moment they first realized that a simple penny could be more than just spare change. Roll hunting remains one of the most popular methods for finding valuable modern cents, and the 1981 D penny frequently appears in rolls sourced from banks, particularly in regions where older coins circulated longer. And while most finds are common, the sheer volume searched by dedicated hunters increases the odds that unusual or high-grade examples will eventually surface. The idea of a single coin reaching a value of $262 million exists at the intersection of rarity, mythology, and market dynamics, because such a valuation would require not just uniqueness, but global recognition, impeccable authentication, and a narrative compelling enough to attract ultra-wealthy buyers. And while this level of value remains speculative, it illustrates how far the imagination can stretch when history, money, and human desire collide. Auction records play a powerful role in shaping perception, because when a coin sells for a high price, It sets a benchmark that influences future expectations, and even modest sales of high-grade or Error 1981D pennies can ripple through the market, encouraging collectors to reassess what they own and what they might be willing to pay. Time is another critical factor because as decades pass, coins like the 1981D penny transition from modern issues to historical artifacts, and this shift changes how they are viewed, studied, and collected, gradually increasing their legitimacy as long-term collectibles rather than everyday currency. The supply of untouched 1981D pennies continues to shrink as coins are lost, damaged, or altered, and each loss slightly increases the relative scarcity of surviving examples, especially those in exceptional condition. And this slow, almost invisible process is one of the most powerful drivers of long-term value in numismatics. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents often focus on building complete date and mint mark sets in the highest grades possible, and competition among these collectors can be intense, with registry rankings, awards, and prestige motivating aggressive bidding when a superior example becomes available, pushing prices to surprising levels. The human element of discovery cannot be ignored, because stories of ordinary people finding valuable coins create emotional connections that statistics alone cannot. And every time a new collector hears about a rare penny discovery, it reinforces the belief that treasure could be waiting anywhere, including in a forgotten drawer or an old piggy bank. Technological advances continue to transform the hobby, with digital microscopes, high-resolution imaging, and online databases making it easier than ever to study coins in detail, compare varieties, and share discoveries instantly. And this increased transparency accelerates knowledge growth while also intensifying competition for the best pieces. The 1981D penny sits quietly within this evolving ecosystem, unassuming in appearance yet rich in potential, serving as a reminder that even the most common objects can become extraordinary when viewed through the lens of history, rarity, and human fascination. And as long as people continue to believe that hidden value exists in plain sight, the search for exceptional 1981D pennies will never truly end, ensuring that this small copper coin remains a powerful symbol of hope, curiosity, and the enduring allure of discovery. The allure of the 1981D 1-cent coin is amplified by the fact that it represents a transitional moment in American coinage, a time when the U.S. Mint was balancing traditional craftsmanship with modern production pressures. And collectors who understand this context recognize that coins from this era carry a unique dual significance, both as circulating currency and as artifacts documenting the evolution of mint technology, metal usage, and quality control standards. And these layers of meaning contribute heavily to collector interest and long-term value potential. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1981D penny is how environmental factors over the decades have impacted surviving examples. Because coins interact with air, moisture, handling, storage methods, and chemical exposure, all of which can subtly or dramatically alter appearance, surface quality, and even structural integrity. And collectors quickly learn that a coin's story can often be read from its patina, its luster, and even microscopic scratches, making each piece a unique historical document that tells a story far beyond its face value. The impact of errors on the 1981D penny cannot be overstated, because what may seem like a minor anomaly to a casual observer, a slight doubling of the date, a faint die crack, a tiny off-center strike, can in reality transform a common coin into a highly sought-after collectible, and collectors, graders, and auctioneers alike understand that these minute variations can define the difference between a coin being sold for a few cents or commanding hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on condition and rarity. Die cracks are particularly interesting because they reveal the physical stresses endured by minting dies under high-volume production, and the length, width, and placement of these cracks are all meticulously cataloged by specialist collectors, who can then assign value to coins that display unusual or dramatic die crack patterns. And in some cases, a die crack can actually increase eye appeal, creating a visually striking effect that makes a coin more attractive to high-end buyers. Double die errors on the 1981D penny also play a central role in its collectible appeal. And while many double dies are subtle and overlooked, the ones that are strong, clearly defined, and fully visible, can become cornerstone pieces for collectors seeking to complete specialized Lincoln cent collections, and these errors are the subject of detailed guides, photographic catalogs, and dedicated online communities devoted solely to identifying, verifying, and trading them. The weight of the 1981 D penny remains an important identifier because any deviation from the standard 3.11 grams immediately signals a potential error or anomaly, and collectors routinely use precise scales to detect slight differences in mass, which could indicate planchet issues, compositional irregularities, or experimental production processes, and the discovery of such a coin can trigger excitement in both casual and professional circles. The historical context of 1981 also adds depth to its story because it was a year when the United States was navigating complex economic conditions, fluctuating metal prices, and increasing attention to production costs at the mint, and the Lincoln cent was caught in this intersection of tradition, economics, and technology, making each surviving example a snapshot of the era's challenges and priorities. In terms of rarity, it's critical to recognize that scarcity does not always come from low mintages, because while millions of 1981 D pennies were struck, the number that survive in uncirculated or near-perfect condition is relatively small, and the number that also feature notable errors or exceptional eye appeal is even smaller, which is why serious collectors are willing to pay significant premiums for coins that check multiple boxes simultaneously: high grade, strong strike, and unusual or documented error. The excitement of potential astronomical value, such as claims of $262 million, stems from the speculative notion that a completely unique specimen could exist, combining perfect preservation, historical relevance, rare die or planchet errors, and verifiable provenance. And while no such coin has ever been verified at that level, the mere possibility captures imaginations, drives searches, and fuels a market that thrives on discovery, anticipation, and storytelling. Online communities have dramatically changed the way collectors research and trade 1981 D pennies because forums, social media, and auction platforms now allow instant sharing of images, detailed analysis, and verification requests, and this collective knowledge accelerates discovery of varieties, increases awareness of rare examples, and helps buyers and sellers establish fair market value, making the hobby more transparent, competitive, and globally connected than ever before. The 1981 D penny also occupies an important place in the broader story of Lincoln cents, because it is part of the long-running Lincoln Memorial series that ran from 1959 to 2008. And collectors who focus on this series understand that each year's production carries subtle differences in strike quality, die design, and metal composition, which collectively form a rich landscape of study, comparison, and valuation that elevates what may seem like a mundane coin into an object of enduring fascination. Another key point is that coins like the 1981 D penny are often the first modern coins that collectors encounter, making them an accessible entry point into the hobby, but also teaching early lessons about grading, error identification, storage, and the dynamics of supply and demand. And many of today's top collectors trace their start to the moment they recognized that even a 1-cent piece could be historically significant or potentially valuable. Collectors also appreciate the story of the Denver Mint itself, which in 1981 was a hub of large-scale coin production with unique operational characteristics, quality control standards, and production challenges. And the small D mint mark on the penny is more than just a letter. It is a symbol of provenance, authenticity, and the regional fingerprint of a production facility with decades of history, making the mint mark a critical focus for serious numismatists. The importance of surface preservation cannot be overstated, because even minor contact marks, abrasions, or chemical discoloration can dramatically reduce value, especially in high-grade coins, and collectors often take extraordinary care with storage using archival holders, coin flips, and controlled environments to ensure that 1981 D pennies maintain their original luster, color, and detail, preserving their potential for long-term appreciation. Eye appeal, a somewhat subjective but extremely important factor, can transform a perfectly ordinary coin into a premium collectible, because coins that display exceptional toning, vibrant red color, strong strike, and an aesthetically pleasing surface attract attention, competition, and higher bids, And for the 1981 penny, this factor is often decisive in distinguishing coins worth a few dollars from those worth hundreds or thousands. The continued study of varieties ensures that the story of the 1981 penny is still unfolding. Because even decades after its production, new doubled dies, repunched mint marks, and subtle die differences continue to be documented, proving that the series is far from completely understood and that dedicated research can reveal coins of previously unrecognized significance, further fueling collector excitement and the market for exceptional examples. The 1981 1-cent coin continues to capture attention because it exists at the intersection of historical significance, metal value, and collector psychology, and the combination of these factors creates a coin that is both accessible to beginners and endlessly fascinating to experts. Because each individual coin tells a unique story shaped by production, circulation, handling, and preservation. And when these stories intersect with rarity and condition, they create a level of intrigue that fuels the market for decades after the coin was originally minted. One of the defining characteristics of the 1981 penny is its place within the copper cent tradition, because at 95% copper and 5% zinc, it represents some of the last heavy, solid copper coins produced before the U.S. Mint shifted to primarily zinc cores, making it part of a historical continuum that collectors prize for its weight, feel, and intrinsic metal content. And this physical connection to the past is one of the reasons why even circulated examples attract interest beyond mere face value. Collectors frequently examine the 1981 penny for subtle die anomalies, because the production process of striking millions of coins introduces the possibility of doubled dies, repunched mint marks, die cracks, and other irregularities. And while most of these are minor, certain dramatic examples are considered collector-grade rarities, capable of commanding significant premiums at auction or private sale, illustrating how small production quirks can create enormous market potential decades later. The emotional attachment to Lincoln cents adds another layer to their appeal, because Abraham Lincoln is arguably the most iconic president in U.S. history, and his portrait has graced the penny for over a century, making each coin not only a unit of currency, but also a piece of cultural heritage. And this connection ensures that collectors are willing to invest time, money, and effort in identifying, acquiring, and preserving high-quality examples, including the 1981 penny. The story of the 1981 penny is also intertwined with economic conditions of the time, because the early 1980s saw fluctuating metal prices, inflation, and government concern over production costs, which meant that pennies produced during this period were part of a broader narrative of economic history, reflecting the challenges and decisions of the U.S. Mint in balancing quality, efficiency, and cost-effectiveness. And for collectors, owning a coin from this era is like holding a tangible piece of economic history. High-grade 1981 pennies are particularly rare in circulation because pennies were heavily used, exposed to friction, moisture, and handling, and most coins from the year show at least minor wear, toning, or scratches, which makes pristine mint state examples exceptionally valuable. And coins graded MS-67, MS-68, or higher by professional grading services are considered rare gems that command attention and high premiums in the marketplace. The rarity factor is compounded by the fact that coins with exceptional eye appeal, perfect strike detail, and original red color are exceedingly uncommon. And when one such coin appears on the market, competition among collectors can be intense, with prices often far exceeding standard expectations, illustrating how condition, aesthetics, and scarcity converge to drive high-end value in modern coins like the 1981 penny. Errors and anomalies, including off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, and double strikes, add another dimension to collector interest, because each error tells a unique story about the production process and creates a coin that is effectively one of a kind. And the most dramatic examples are often documented, graded, and traded as premium collectibles, contributing to the speculation that a single extraordinary 1981 penny could theoretically achieve a value far beyond conventional estimates, including the legendary notion of hundreds of millions of dollars for a truly unique specimen. The theoretical value of $262 million, while extreme, demonstrates the power of rarity, uniqueness, and market psychology, because it represents a scenario in which a coin possesses not only physical uniqueness, but also documented provenance, historical importance, perfect preservation, and global recognition among collectors and institutions. And although no coin has ever reached this level, the concept keeps the 1981 penny in the spotlight and inspires ongoing searches for hidden treasures. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents often build complete date and mint mark sets, and within this framework, the 1981 penny is a critical component, particularly for registry sets, which rank coins based on grade and quality, encouraging competitive collecting, fostering attention to detail, and creating a dynamic marketplace where exceptional specimens are rewarded with prestige, recognition, and financial value. Digital tools have further revolutionized the study and collection of 1981 pennies because high-resolution imaging, online forums, and auction databases allow collectors to identify minor die variations, share discoveries instantly, and access pricing information globally, making the hobby more transparent, competitive, and informed than ever before, and increasing the speed at which new varieties or errors can become recognized and valued in the marketplace. Another significant factor is the effect of long-term storage, because coins that remain untouched in original rolls, protective holders, or private collections often retain superior color, luster, and detail compared to those handled or circulated, and these preserved specimens often command the highest premiums, demonstrating how care and foresight in coin preservation can dramatically influence long-term value for modern pennies like the 1981D. The 1981D penny also exemplifies how historical significance, rarity, condition, and collector interest intersect, because although it is a common coin in everyday circulation, exceptional examples transcend mere monetary value, becoming artifacts of historical, cultural, and numismatic importance. And it is this combination that allows coins from this era to attract intense collector attention and remain relevant in the marketplace decades after their production. Finally, the continuing search for exceptional 1981D pennies underscores the dynamic nature of the hobby, because even decades after the coin was minted, discoveries of high-grade examples, rare errors, or dramatic die varieties continue to reshape our understanding of the series, create new opportunities for collectors, and ensure that interest in the 1981D penny remains alive, active, and deeply engaging, proving that even a humble 1-cent coin can carry immense significance and excitement for generations of numismatists. The story of the 1981D 1-cent coin culminates in the understanding that what may appear to be a simple penny is actually a layered narrative of history, production, rarity, and human fascination, because collectors, investors, and enthusiasts all recognize that coins are more than their metal or denomination. They are artifacts that capture a moment in time, the state of the mint, economic pressures, and the artistry of a small but significant piece of national heritage. And for the 1981D penny, this combination makes it endlessly collectible and historically relevant that high-grade examples of the 1981D penny are increasingly scarce because decades of circulation, handling, and environmental exposure have removed many coins from top-tier survival, and each remaining mint-state specimen represents a dwindling pool of opportunity for collectors. And the fewer coins there are in perfect or near-perfect condition, the more intense the competition becomes among buyers, dealers, and registry collectors, which drives upward pressure on market values and ensures that serious examples continue to command attention at auctions and private sales worldwide. Collectors also recognize that provenance plays a crucial role in value, because a documented history of ownership, storage conditions, or prior grading can significantly enhance desirability, and coins with traceable pedigree often achieve premiums over otherwise identical pieces, illustrating how stories, documentation, and verification contribute as much to value as physical attributes like strike, color, or error type. The hypothetical value of $262 million captures imaginations because it represents the intersection of absolute rarity, perfect preservation, documented uniqueness, and global recognition. And while this level of valuation is extreme and largely theoretical, it highlights how a single coin can transcend its face value and become a symbol of ultimate rarity and collector aspiration, reminding enthusiasts that even the smallest coin can harbor dreams of monumental significance. The 1981 D penny also demonstrates how attention to minute details can transform collecting from a casual hobby into an intensive pursuit of knowledge, because recognizing differences in die alignment, mint mark placement, strike depth, planchet quality, and surface preservation requires skill, patience, and practice. And those who master these skills gain access to coins of much higher potential value, reinforcing the idea that expertise itself is a form of currency in the numismatic world. Collectors often explore error categories methodically, searching for off-center strikes, doubled dies, broad strikes, clipped planchets, lamination defects, die cracks, and more, and the most significant discoveries can be immediately verified, graded, and marketed to eager buyers, demonstrating how modern technology, meticulous research, and global connectivity have elevated even minor pennies into highly sought-after collectible artifacts. The emotional connection to Lincoln and the Lincoln Memorial Series also amplifies interest, because the portrait of the 16th president carries deep symbolic resonance, reminding collectors that the coins they hold in their hands are not just currency, but also miniature monuments to history, democracy, and national identity. And this sense of cultural connection elevates the 1981 D penny from a simple everyday object into something with story, significance, and enduring relevance. Condition, color, and eye appeal continue to dominate valuation, with coins that retain original red copper surfaces, strong luster, sharp strike details, and minimal contact marks consistently achieving the highest premiums. And collectors actively seek these traits because they are both visually appealing and historically representative of mint quality, producing a hierarchy of desirability that ranges from common circulated pieces to top population mint state examples that drive competitive bidding and market excitement. The 1981 D penny also illustrates how supply dynamics shape long-term market behavior, because while millions were minted, the number of coins that survive in high grades and with collectible attributes is limited, creating scarcity that becomes more pronounced each year. And this natural attrition ensures that the best examples continue to rise in value and relevance, reinforcing the coin's importance in modern numismatics. The story of the coin is further enriched by the ongoing discovery of varieties and errors, because even decades after production, collectors and researchers continue to identify previously undocumented differences in die alignment, repunched mint marks, doubling, and metal composition, illustrating that numismatic knowledge is never static and that coins like the 1981 D penny continue to evolve in value, significance, and interest as new information comes to light. Ultimately, the 1981 D1 cent coin is a testament to the enduring appeal of coins as both collectibles and historical artifacts, because it demonstrates how a small, seemingly ordinary object can capture imagination, drive speculation, and provide decades of study and enjoyment. And its story reminds collectors that the journey is just as valuable as the destination, that careful observation, patience, and passion can transform a simple coin into a treasure, and that even pennies can inspire awe, curiosity, and extraordinary market interest. The legacy of the 1981 D penny will continue for generations, because as long as collectors, historians, and enthusiasts remain interested in the intersection of art, history, and rarity, coins from this era will remain relevant, sought after, and cherished, ensuring that the legacy of the Lincoln Memorial Series and the Denver Mint lives on in the hands of those who value more than just face value, but the narrative, craftsmanship, and potential of every small copper coin. For anyone holding a 1981 D penny today, it is more than change. It is a tangible connection to history, a potential piece of numismatic significance, and a reminder that even the most ordinary objects can harbor extraordinary potential. And for collectors, this possibility is what drives endless searching, meticulous grading, careful preservation, and passionate discussion, making the 1981 D1 cent coin an enduring symbol of the power of discovery, rarity, and human fascination. And so, as collectors, investors, and enthusiasts continue to explore, research, and celebrate the 1981 D penny, its story remains alive, vibrant, and endlessly intriguing, a testament to the enduring magic of coins, the thrill of discovery, and the extraordinary journey of a simple 1-cent piece from everyday circulation to a symbol of historical significance, market potential, and timeless fascination.